Hey everybody, my name is Nick, and if you are looking for guides on Shopify development design, well then you have come to the right place. In today's video, we are going to create a much requested design. It's a typewriter banner. It's an image background with the appearance of typing text that alternates over the top. This is a special shout out to Irontail Designs and LFK 1966 for requesting this. To do this, we are going to create a section file and use HTML, liquid, section schema, for customization, CSS, and lots of JavaScript. If you'd like to skip the explanation of code, you can find the link in the description to copy and paste into your file, and you should be good to go. Otherwise, if you're interested in learning more about the code, stick around. Also, quick shout out that I have finished recording my Shopify theme development course, which should be ready in just a week or two, so stay tuned if you are looking to up your Shopify development skills. Anyways, back to our section. It looks great on desktop and mobile and has lots of customizable options. If you have something you'd like to see, let me know in the comments and direct me to the design that you're speaking of. Without further ado, let's get started. All right, so this is gonna be a quick and easy guide. So I'm just gonna do it within the Shopify admin. So what I'm gonna do is go into my duplicate theme and I'm gonna edit code. And all I'm gonna do is create a new section file right here. Now I'm gonna call this typewriter banner.liquid. Now after that, we will have this schema that we need to create. I'm gonna call it typewriter. And then I'm also gonna add a preset here. The reason for the preset is so that we can add it via the theme editor. Cool. And we're gonna add a lot more to this schema so that we can have a lot of customizable options within the theme editor. But for now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy and paste a bunch of styles. You know that I don't usually talk too much about the styles, but in this case, all I'm gonna do is draw your attention to one particular code, a line of code right here. In the background image, basically what's gonna be the image background of the whole thing, we are setting it with this section.settings.background image. So if you have watched any of my guides on Shopify section files, you'll know that this is going to come from down here in our settings here. For now, what I'm going to do is just type out our skeleton, our HTML. So underneath this style tag, I'm just going to start here. Okay, take a quick pause here just to look at what we've done so far. We have this container kind of div, amazing banner. We have our background image, which this is the class that I just mentioned up here, where we're setting this background image right there. So we can see we will use a setting there. And then I also added one right here. This is inline on the H1. This H1 is actually going to be the text that is typing out and removing. So I wanted to make sure that we set a style inline that's also going to come from our theme editor, where we can have the merchant pick whatever color they would like. And I also have this funny looking character, which is how you declare a space in HTML. So that's just to hold space right there. Cool, and I think this looks good, although there is one more thing. I need to add a couple styles here so that we can do the same thing we do on the typing text above, but this is gonna be for the call to action button. So I just wanna make sure that we allow the merchant the ability to set the color, the background color of the button, as well as the text color, because you're gonna probably change that depending on what your background image looks like. Okay, cool. So this looks pretty good. Now, there is going to be a lot of JavaScript, but so far, so good. I guess we can start by adding some of our schema here, and then we'll come through and add our JavaScript later. So far, we have this background image. So I'm going to copy that just so I have it referenced. And right here in our settings, I'm going to get started. And it's going to be type image picker. The ID is going to be the ID that I copied. The label, I'll just call background image. Cool. And then I'm going to do another one, this time for the text color. It's going to be type color. We already have the ID. And for label, I'll call it text color. And I'm going to give it a default. So I'm going to say the default value, it should just be white. Now I will move on to the color for the background and the text of the button. I'm going to give a default as well of black. And then I will do almost the same thing, but for text color. And I'll set the default color there to white. Okay, cool. So these are all of the settings that we've defined so far, but there's going to be a lot more. So why don't we dig in with our JavaScript? So I'll do my best to try to explain what's happening here, but it does get a little bit confusing, I suppose. So with the first thing we're going to do in our script is we are going to add an event listener. The first thing we're going to do is just make sure that the DOM is fully loaded, which means all of our content is rendered, because we're going to add some click handlers for this button in particular so we can make sure we navigate to the correct place. And then we also need to make sure that we add an event handler for this click event. So I'm going to start out by just getting some query selectors. Okay, so I'm going to add first I'm going to add an event listener for this button. So when it's clicked, we make sure that we navigate to the correct place. So I'm going to add an event listener for click. And then when that is clicked, I'm going to navigate to a collections page. And you'll see that I'm going to reference another setting that we have here. But if you don't want this to go to a collections page, say you just want it to go to a product page or something, you can change this. So if it was products, you would change it to products, or if it was pages, you'd change it, to whatever. But I'm going to do this, and I'm going to call this ID button link, and then I'm going to come down here and create it. Cool. All right, nice. So when this is clicked, we should navigate away to that page. We're going to continue on with our JavaScript and handle the actual typing of the typewriter. So what I'll do first is I'm going to get 3 different lines of text that are going to be stored in this array. And these are going to be very similar, so I'm just going to do it 3 times. And then again, I'm going to come down to my settings here. I'm going to copy it 3 times. And then I'm going to change these. Okay, cool. So we've defined the first, second, and a third line of text, which we can get here, and we're going to store in this JavaScript variable. And then we're going to be able to loop through those to make sure that we are typing and removing them and cycling through them. So there's going to be basically 3 lines of text. And if you wanted more, you can just add more. Like you could add as many as you want. But for my use case, I'm happy with 3. So let's continue on. All right, and then you will see I am again defining another setting here. This setting is going to be responsible for choosing the speed at which the text is being typed at. So I will give the merchant the ability to edit this. I'm going to call it typing speed in milliseconds. And the default that I like to use for this, I think 50 looks good. 50 milliseconds. Okay, and we'll continue on here. Okay, and then I think all I need to do is to actually invoke this function. Okay, cool. All right, that was a lot of code. All right, let's talk about it for a moment here. Okay, so we have our texts right here. We have our indexes that we're starting with. We're starting at 0 so that we can go through each character of each line here. And then what we're doing is we're checking if we are deleting, and if we are deleting, we want to make sure that means we're coming back, getting rid of the word. So we're going to do this minus minus to make sure we're moving backwards. And then if we are typing out, we're going to move the index forward. And then what we do is we check if we are deleting, and if the index is at the very end, at the length of that current text line, then we know that we need to start deleting because there's no more. So then we switch this is deleting to true, and then we call this set timeout. So this typewriter function is recursive. It's going to be continually called over and over and over again. It's just a matter of, is it typing or is it moving backwards? And that's really all these are handling. Same with this one. This is when we start moving it forward again. And then this handles an else condition where we just call it. So it's really just one of the same. It's either moving forward or it's moving backwards and then moving to the next line. And it keeps doing the same thing over and over again. So I guess we can test this now and see if I made any typos like I usually do. Oh, looks like we have an issue in the schema. Looks like I forgot a comma. And it's still not happy. I forgot a lot of commas. Okay, now let's try to go to the customize. And I'm going to add my typewriter section here, move it to the top. I'm gonna hide that for the time being. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna pick an image here. I'm going to pick this one. All right. And I can already see I made a typo there, but I think I'm okay with the white text. I'm good with the black button, and I'm okay with the white text as well. As far as the link, I only have one collection, so I'm going to link to that. And I'm also going to add a couple of defaults here. I should add a default for these first, second, and third text lines, just so when the merchant goes in there, they can see it kind of in action here. So I'm going to also preview this. But first, I'm going to come back to my code here. All right, and then right here, I'm going to add a couple defaults. All right, let's try this. Oh, and I forget, because I had this typo here. I need to come back here, and how did I misspell this? Oh, I forgot the N. It should be N. Okay, cool. And it's not working, so that means I messed something up here. Yeah, looks like there's probably something wrong with my JavaScript. And I think I added one too many equal signs. That would be a really large comparison there. Okay, let's try that and refresh. Looks like there's still something they're not happy about. So what I'm going to do is look really close for a second and see if my defaults are getting set. They are not, so my defaults are not working. That's probably because I created them first and without the defaults, so that's fine. This should work. If you include this first, it should probably work for you. So I'm going to come back to the theme editor and I'm going to just paste these in real quick. All right, and then I also need to add some button text. It looks like I have not added that yet for right here. And it looks like I forgot to put a colon there. Wow, I'm struggling. All right, let's give this a go. Okay, so it typed it out correctly. It removed it correctly. And it is in fact moving to the other lines of text. Whew, okay, I am sorry if you stuck with me through that terrible typing, but we can take a look at it and we see that it is mobile responsive, which is nice. It shrinks the font a little bit, still looks very sharp, so I'm pretty pleased with this. If we come back to the theme editor, you can look and see there's quite a few customizations here. Obviously the image, the font color, the button text color, and the button background color, the button link, and then the 3 lines of text that it loops through, as well as the speed. So you can adjust this as you'd like. You can see if you make it smaller, it goes extremely fast. Yeah, probably a little too fast, but this has been creating a typewriter banner section. I hope it's been helpful. If you liked it, please make sure you give me a comment. I really appreciate it. Let me know what you'd like to see next. I will see you next time.